fight her.
Oh, big right hand! One punch! That is it! Forget about the count. It is
Hannah, the classical warrior Rankin.
I'm Susie from Women's Fight News, and today I'm here with former IBO World Super Welterweight champion and Scotland's first female world champion, Hannah Rankin. So thank you very much for joining me today, and how are you?
Oh no, I'm great, and thanks very much for having me on. We've been trying to get this going for a while, so it's good that we finally managed to get it sorted.
Thank you for your time.
No problem.
Congratulations on your fight that you've just announced.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so great to have a fight date in the diary. I feel really sort of blessed and quite lucky to be one of those few fighters that can say they've got a date in the diary. I think it's just so important that you have something to focus on and a date and a goal, especially as an athlete in general, really. So yeah, no, very, very excited, and massive props to my Scottish manager, Sam Kinnock, for working so hard behind the scenes to create opportunities for his fighters. Actually, I think that's really what I want to say. Massive thank you to him for that. So yeah.
It's exciting being in South Africa, Cape Town.
Yeah, it's the very first time I've ever been there, and people keep telling me that, oh, you've got to go and see this, you've got to go and do that, and I was like, I don't think people understand. Whenever I go anywhere to fight, I see nothing of that place, nothing of it, apart from like usually the hotel and then the fight venue and the plane on the way there. So that's about it. But yeah, no, really exciting. I've never been to Cape Town before. I grew up with a really good friend. His family was South African, so I'm kind of used to their sort of jokes and their family stuff. So I'm quite excited to finally be going to South Africa.
It's on the 12th of March, and yep. Your opponent is, so we've been practicing. I asked you, didn't I, her name before, so forgive me if I get it wrong, but it's Kholosa Ndobayini. Yeah,
I think we say Kholosa Ndobayini, but apologies if she's listening, and apologies if I got that wrong. I don't mean to be rude, but yeah, I think it's my best sort of pronunciation of it.
And she's a two-weight champion. Is that right?
Yeah, so she's a two-weight South African champion. So it's good. It's great. She's got a winning record and great opponent for me to go in against. My first fight at welterweight, which is quite exciting. So yeah, no, obviously gonna go in there and hopefully put on a show. But yeah, no, it's always going to be, there's two of us in the ring, so it's going to be a great fight, and I hope people really enjoy it.
And in terms of weight-wise, because obviously you fought at super welterweight, at middle, up at super middle. So where do you feel like you feel more comfortable coming down now to welter, or what's your sort of weight you feel happiest?
So for me, making super welterweight is probably like my most comfortable weight. It's where I won my world title, so obviously I feel great at that weight. But I make it quite easy. So, I've always wanted to go down to welterweight, and there's quite a lot of exciting opportunities in that weight class that I've not explored yet. And I felt like, now's about the right time. Obviously, stepping up to middleweight against Savannah in my last fight, I was just too small to be a middleweight in that fight, you know. So yeah, it's exciting for me and the team, and we're really pleased to be going down to the welterweight division, and opens up a whole load of new opponents. I think I'm going to be massive at the weight, really tall. I'm going to have some definite advantages going down to it. So yeah, no, it'll be my first time making it, but I'm really confident that I'm going to do it well, and I'm excited about it.
And talking about just the amount of, you know, you've fought at different weights and all around the world. It's just amazing. I wrote down all the different places in the world you fought, and it's amazing. Yeah. Like Malta, USA 3 times, Norway, now South Africa. It's quite nice to see that you're getting out there and taking those opportunities.
Absolutely. I think it's one of the best things about being any sort of professional athlete, really, is the chance to actually travel the world, meet loads of new people. Like, I always love to go sparring all around the world. It's where I got most of my experience, and the opportunities to go and visit different gyms, see different cultures whilst you're there, see how they run their gyms as well. It can be completely different. I spent quite a bit of time actually in Ukraine. I was part of Cecilia Brakas's sparring team there, so it was really interesting, a totally different vibe again. So yeah, no, I always really enjoy going to different places, and I think it's one of the good things about being an athlete. Obviously that's been stopped this year for a lot of people, but I am pleased to be able to have those opportunities for sure.
It's a case of who don't you know in boxing, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got who's who of sparring partners for my list. and fights actually, yeah, it's fights as well.
It's everybody.
Absolutely.
So what's your career highlight for you?
Career highlight?
So
it's got to be winning the world title at home in Scotland. Definitely one of the most nerve-wracking nights of my life. But I made history for my country, and you know, that's going to be forever with me for the rest of my life, and it's in the history books. And as one funny person pointed out to me, Hannah, you're now the answer to a pub quiz question, which is quite exciting. But yeah, no, and it was quite an important night for me because, you know, I was the first female to headline a televised card in the UK. First British female, I should say, because Katie Taylor's done it, but obviously she's Irish. And it was with the BBC, and the BBC hadn't shown boxing for quite a long time. So it was a great sort of turnaround to get them showing my fight and me headlining it and making some history for the country. So it's definitely got to be my highlight, I must admit.
And what about your toughest fight?
Ooh, toughest fight. So I think it's a toss-up between the Claressa Shields fight and the Savannah Marshall fight. Obviously, I know people want me to pick one or the other, but they both got their different things that were difficult. And I, for one, can't wait to see that fight happen. It's going to be an absolute firecracker for women's boxing. So yeah, those are probably my two most difficult fights, I would say, for sure.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to say, you've actually shared the ring with both. So could you pick? Do you think who would win?
So I'm going to be backing Claressa for this fight. She's my best friend, and we get on really well. I know everyone would believe that after our lead up to when we actually fought, but we get on really, really well. So I'm going to be backing her in this fight, but by no means do I think it's going to be an easy fight for her. Savannah's got some fantastic attributes and some fantastic skill sets, and I think it's just going to be a really interesting fight to watch. There's two completely different styles getting together in the ring. So I think people are going to be in for quite an exciting night when they watch that one, because there's so many different things that could happen. But I'm going to be backing Claressa for this one.
I think it's going to be quite an interesting build-up as well, seeing what's been going on social media.
Absolutely. I mean, I know for one that, you know, Claressa's not shy in coming forward when it comes to social media. And I think that's great for women's boxing, actually. I think we do need to get ourselves out there, say what we think, and be sort of, you know, you don't have to be nice all the time. You know, you can come out and say what you think. And the guys are doing it left, right, and centre. You know, she's always throwing tables at press conferences and things like that. None of us have done that yet, but you know, it's good. And there's always that little bit, especially in America, that trash talking is quite a big part of the build up for a fight. And people have to remember it's entertainment as well. So people tune in to watch these things. You know, in the UFC, we've got Conor McGregor doing the same sort of stuff. You know, people get excited about it, and that's a general sort of public. I think Savannah is going to be a lot more in the limelight for this fight than she's used to being on camera and things. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth on Twitter, social media, and there's going to be a lot of interviews, and it's just going to be really exciting, the build up. I really can't wait for it, to be honest.
And obviously when you fought Claressa in 2018, how was that whole experience going over to America and fighting like pound for pound #1? And
it was a really exciting experience, actually. So my first time in America, I fought Alicia Napoleon, and that was in what do you call it, Long Island, in Long Island, near York, and that was with Ndobayini. So my first sort of proper fight abroad in the States, but this one was a bit different because with Claressa, obviously. It was with DAZN, and it was on a Matchroom card. So there's the big build up with Sky Sports and DAZN doing all the sort of the filming. And it was the first time where in the lead up to a fight, I'd been filmed so much and done so many interviews in the gym beforehand. And people wanted to know a little bit more about my personal life and a little bit more about me. So I had to learn quite quickly how to be in front of the cameras and how I felt about that. But yeah, no, and it was quite high profile. So I was quite pleased that obviously like my team is always a really close-knit team, and it has been right from the very beginning. So I think as a fighter you need that, especially when everybody wants to ask you a million questions all of a sudden from nowhere. But it was a very exciting build-up, and yeah, we had an exciting weigh-in as well. We went head-to-head at the weigh-in, but yeah, no, it was a great experience.
And it's nice because, like you said, you've become really good friends since.
Yeah, do you know what? In the lead up to it, I was like, we are chalk and cheese. That we have nothing in common. I don't like anything about her, and she was saying exactly the same thing. I don't like anything about this girl. You know, there's nothing we have in common. And then after obviously 10 rounds of war, you know, you build up a respect. But afterwards, we were still going at each other in anti-doping. And it wasn't until later on that where we sparred again, because I signed with her promotional company, Salita Promotions, and I also have the same manager in America, Mark Taffet, former head of HBO. So it's fantastic to work with these guys, and we sparred after that, which was like almost a continuation of the fight before we both were meant to fight on the same card. And then we got chatting, and we actually have very similar views for women's boxing. We really want to promote sport. You know, we have the same sort of dedication and discipline, and actually we do think a lot alike. We just come from very different angles and the way that we think about it. But actually, yeah, no, we get on really well now, and we're constantly in touch with each other, and training together as well when we can.
I think it's a shame because she's sort of misunderstood. I think people don't understand where she's coming from, but actually, if they took the time to see what she's about, she's very supportive of fellow female boxers. She does so much for her community, but people just don't choose not to see that.
No, and also she comes from a really, like, you know, difficult part of America. You know, she comes from Flint, Michigan, and having been there myself, you know, it's not the, you know, it's a completely different background to where I was brought up. I was brought up on basically a hill with nobody around me and a load of sheep. But she was brought up in Flint. It can be quite dangerous, completely different sort of cultural vibe. And she's worked so hard, and what she has achieved from where she's come from to where she is now is amazing. And when she came over to the UK, she was at Churchill's boxing gym with me, and she ran a camp there for people to come and train. And it was a lot of young girls and women coming, but there were also some guys that turned up to train as well. She's a fantastic teacher. She's very dedicated and wants to help you. And she's got loads of great advice. And when you get to know her like that, is a real other side to her character that people should really respect, because she just wants to give back all that stuff that she knows, you know. But she's got her other side to things, which I think is, you know, her fight side, and she just says what she thinks, and I really respect that.
No, it's nice. It's great, like you said, great entertainment.
Yeah, always. You can never be bored with Claressa.
And then you were mentioning about your first fight to Alicia in 2018 again, and that was your first fight in America. And people said then, because it didn't actually get televised, did it? So people were saying it was the best fight that never got seen. Yeah,
so it was dubbed the best fight you never saw. And it was, a very frustrating evening. I think it was frustrating for Ndobayini as well, because it was meant to be on Fox Sports, and he's a big promoter of women's boxing. He really supports all of his female athletes that he's got, all the girls, and he's always out there backing us for all the hard work that we put in. And me and Alicia were the only female fight on the card. We were also the only title fight on the card, and it was a world title, you know. But unfortunately, we got pushed right to the very end of the card, and just before our fight went on, Fox Sports turned the cameras off, and it was the general sort of consensus that, oh, it's the women's fight, people won't really want to watch that, and it was a real shame. But when you look back at it now, we're now in 2021, and that was 2018, and how far we've come, giving women a platform, is massively changed. But I couldn't believe that. We almost, like, Alicia almost just refused to go out for the fight because she was so angry about it. By that point, I was just like, I just want to fight. But, you know, you know me. But yeah, no, it was a very strange experience because, you know, lots of people stayed behind, but half the auditorium obviously thought it was the end of the show, so they left. But yeah, no, it was an interesting experience, but definitely one I learned from as well.
And considering those circumstances, to put on such a performance, both of you, to be such a great fight, that was pretty good going, considering, like you said, if Alicia didn't even want to do it because of the circumstances.
I know, and I think as well, like, that's kind of a reflection on all women in the sport, really. Like, we all go out there with our hearts on our sleeves and we want to give a great performance. You know, you look at Terry Harper and Natasha Jonas when they went out for their fight, just all the fights we've had in the UK this year, women's fights have just been amazing. And I think because we're so not used to having the opportunity to showcase what we can do, that when we do get that chance, we want to make a big impact and showcase it all to everybody. So yeah, no, I think you're always going to get your sort of, I know, more for your money, I would say, watching the women's fights, because it's 100 miles an hour. There's shorter rounds, and we're really nasty, and we're going for it. So, you know, it's going to be a good fight to watch.
So going back to the beginning, what got you into boxing in the first place?
So, well, as a lot of people know, when I was younger, I used to do taekwondo with my sister when I was really little, and we got quite far up. I got up to my blue belt red tag, and we used to compete as well. And I actually think it was my mum basically tactily making us go and do something to fight other people rather than fighting each other at home. But I've always loved combat sports from then on, and obviously then had a change of sort of focus for my music. But at the end of my undergraduate degree, I started to get back into getting fit again, and I got into Thai boxing. I used to do a bit of training at the Grip House, doing some circuit training there in Glasgow. And then when I moved to London to do my master's at the Royal Academy of Music, I thought, you know what, I want to keep this sort of fitness level going. And I absolutely loved doing the training and like all the boxing side of it. So that's when I met my coach, Noel Callan, and also Derek Sweet D Williams, a former heavyweight boxer here in London. And they both really got me into boxing. And it was just a really great escape for me at the gym, because actually I was dealing with quite a difficult time. My mum had been diagnosed with cancer. And for me, going to the gym was my one kind of escape from all of the things, because I used to do a lot of music with her, and you know, it became sort of my refuge, and going in and working on the bags and tiring myself out so I couldn't think about it all. And actually they were all there for me after she passed away as well. So I had a family outside of something a little bit different to get away to. And I think that's kind of, yeah, boxing saved me at the right time. It was there to really help me. So yeah, I kind of fell in love with it. And, you know, there's always something new to learn, and it just fascinates me, really absolutely fascinates me. I love it.
You went quite quickly into pro, didn't you?
Yeah, so I started doing, so like obviously I was just doing it for fitness, and then I wanted to go on to the next level, so I did some white collar. That was more just to help raise money for charity and things like that. And also I wanted to actually see if all my skills would pay off, like, you know, all that stuff I'm learning in the gym, could I actually do it on a person? And I found that actually I really enjoyed it, and you know, I found I had a bit of a talent for it. But yeah, I went to go and spar Kelly Morgan and Michaela Lauren. They were my first two professional spars, and definitely eye-opening experiences, like a whole other world. But even though I think I got my butt kicked in my first few spars, I got out the ring and I said to my coach, just like, I want to be better. I want to do it again, so I'll do it next time. And so he thought, well, maybe she's going to stick at this. And we applied for my pro license, and I sparred lots of other pros. Yeah, it was a quick turnaround, but I started late, probably about 23, 24. Actually, no, maybe a bit later. Yeah, so it must have been about, I got my pro license when I was 25.
And it's nice you mentioning about Noel. So you've been with Noel right from the beginning. You're very close. You know, you can tell through social media and everything. You're very close.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, like we started this together. And he got his pro license to take me professional. And so we started right at the very bottom, and to then get to the heights of winning a world title and to the level I'm at now. Yeah, we're really close. We do everything together, and we've built sort of the brand. We've done all the social media. Like, I would say he's like my PA. He reminds me about my social media, reminds me about like food, and also then does all my training and my recovery, and you know. But he has many jobs.
It's nice actually, because when I was first getting into women's boxing myself, it was very nice. With Noel was very approachable.
Yeah.
So I've always been in touch with Noel and sort of asked him questions and things. It's been really nice actually.
Oh no, I'll let him know that. I think he'll be really pleased to hear. I think because we didn't come from the amateur background and everything like that, we had to learn everything ourselves, you know, like, and didn't go in sort of like the Olympics route and then sign with Matchroom and, you know, get everything sorted out. We had to figure everything out ourselves. And so whenever anybody asks us any questions, we're happy just to pass back the information, because it was, you know, it's a lot of hard work to figure it all out. So we know it now, so we'll just pass it on to other people, you know.
And then going on to some hot topics of the moment, things like pay. What's your stance on pay for women?
So obviously, women boxers, we should be getting paid more for what we're doing. You know, we bleed exactly the same, you know, and we train just as hard as the guys, and we're putting ourselves through the same amount of hard work in the training, and also on fight night. You know, we're wearing the same size gloves. We're not wearing any bigger gloves, you know, all that sort of thing. So it's not any less stressful or dangerous for us, if you know what I mean. So we should be getting paid the same. I see where people have a different argument with the whole, we don't do 3-minute rounds. I, for one, would love to have 3-minute rounds. I would make my life. It would make me so happy. And I think women's boxing should have 3-minute rounds. But unfortunately, that's not the case at the moment. So people still have grounds to say, oh, well, you don't do as much as the guys, so we can't possibly pay you as much, sort of thing, which I think is silly in itself. But I hope in a few years' time, we'll see a step forward, maybe to 10 threes or even 12 twos as a stepping stone, and then up to the threes, you know, because we need that to build the sort of the depth in the women's game. Because at the moment, it's 10 twos for a world title. It's 10 twos for a Commonwealth title. There should be a difference in the levels and the length of rounds, or the number of rounds even. And so, yeah, you know, I think that argument's unfortunately still getting in the way of us getting paid as much as we should. But we definitely do deserve to be paid more, for sure.
It's the complete difference, isn't it? The actual, the difference between the men and the women. Rather than, you know, it's just so vast.
Well, you know, at the beginning, when you start out, so if you're both, say you both sign into a small hall promoter, and as a woman and a man, you both have to sell a certain number of tickets, and you're both roughly making the same amount of money. The only difference is that female opponents cost a little bit more, because most of our opponents come from abroad. Because there's not as many of us in the UK. You can't just phone somebody down in Portsmouth and be like, hey, do you want to come and have a fight? You know, than anybody. So your opponents cost more to get here, which is why it costs more for promoters in the first place. But at the beginning, when you're first starting out, you should roughly be making the same as what the guys are making at that same sort of level. The big, massive difference comes, and obviously that depends how many tickets you sell and how successful you are with that. But the huge difference comes when it comes to title level. You know, we're earning like ridiculously less than what the guys are earning for like a multiple world title challenge or anything like that. We don't earn anywhere near as much as what they do. So that's where the gaping difference is, to be honest.
Yeah, that's why I always think it's crazy when you're talking like up to millions to compared to just a few thousand. That's when I think it sounds crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously you look at someone like Canelo, who's getting paid millions for his fights, but then he has a massive draw. He sells a lot of tickets. People pay money to watch him. He is a superstar of the sport. So he deserves to be paid well for what he does because he brings in so many people. And there is that argument that people say, well, you know, are people going to watch it? Are you selling as many pay-per-views as the guys would be selling? And my argument's always been, well, if you never put us out there to find that out, then you're never going to know, are you? So, and you know, that's the same argument. It's kind of like that chicken and egg thing.
It's great that people are trying to sort of push themselves forward, like with Claressa now trying to go for the pay-per-view and prove that she can headline a pay-per-view, which is great for the sport.
Well, actually, my next fight is going to be a pay-per-view card as well. So people can tune in to watch it anywhere in the world, because I think the one thing that I have is I have quite a big following in the US as well as here in the UK. You know, like obviously got my fans in Scotland, and my UK followers have definitely increased over the last year. But I would say I've got a bigger following worldwide. So I always want people to be able to watch what I'm up to. And that's a great thing about this next fight in Cape Town with Fight Promotions Africa. They're going to be doing a sort of it's a pay-per-view. It's not going to be expensive, but it's run through sort of a Facebook sort of live thing, but you don't need to have Facebook to do it. So it's that sort of platform, and people pay a nominal fee. It's not expensive, and they can watch the whole card. So it's kind of nice to be able to do that and set up a pay-per-view system, but obviously not the same sort of heights as like DAZN or Matchroom or something like that, you know, Sky Sports, whatever. But it is the starting point to something more exciting.
No, it's great because it means it's more accessible, because what I find frustrating in following the sport is not being able to watch some of it, or having to watch it sort of on dodgy footage later down the line. Or so it's nice that there's actually going to be a platform to watch it.
Well, yeah, I always wondered why people didn't stream more shows, you know, like the small hall shows, why there wasn't a streaming system set up. But then I think there's always been that argument that if you're streaming it, then people won't buy tickets. So they want people to come to the events. So it only really works if you're showing it, if you're like, say Sky Sports and Matchroom, for example, you can afford to show it on TV and still assume people are going to come because you've got people like Anthony Joshua on the card, you know, that sort of thing. You have that person that's going to bring in the crowds as well as sell pay-per-view. So there's that side of it. But I think, especially with the current climate, obviously getting people to be able to watch the fights is much more important at the moment. So more streaming platforms are becoming available for people to take part, basically.
And another question I wanted to ask. So obviously you've been through so much in your career in this short space of time. What advice would you give your younger self?
My advice to my younger self? Oh, I wish I'd stuck at the taekwondo alongside my music career when I first started, because then I probably would have got to boxing a lot sooner. So I would have been able to start even sooner and have an even longer career in it. Because actually, I love all martial arts anyway, and I've done some jiu-jitsu and obviously Thai boxing as well. So who knows actually where I would have ended up. But I think my advice to my younger self is, do continue taking all those opportunities that you took, those crazy ideas, and follow them, because actually they do lead to great things. At the time, I often wondered, Hannah, you're mad. You're doing something crazy. You're doing all this mad things. And then suddenly I've got a completely different career path, and it was the right thing to do. So I think my advice to myself would be, do it, do it, do it. Do whatever you think makes you feel good.
That's good advice. Brilliant. Well, it's been great to speak to you, and I'm looking forward to your fight. So it'd be great when we find some more details about how to watch it, and yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, so I'm going to be putting out some information over the next week or so, so people can actually tune in to watch it. It's going to be super simple, so it doesn't matter if you're really not into your technology. It's going to be really easy for people. So I'm for one hope it's going to be easy because I'm bad at technology anyway. But yeah, I'll be putting out some information in the next week or so, and so watch this space. And thank you so much, Susie, for having me on. It's been great to finally catch up with you.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please click like now and subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. Thank you. Bye.